Welcome to the Author's Porch, where every good conversation happens. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride from author to author. We want to give you an experience where you learn and enjoy the conversation. Authors tell you about their journey, you learn about new books, and at the end of the day, you go home with a smile on your face because the Author's Porch is a beacon of light, bringing you home to the family you never knew you had. We hope that you enjoy the show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Author's Porch, where every great conversation happens. We're super stoked to have with us tonight the fantabulous Teri Brown. How are you doing tonight, Teri?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me here tonight.
We have been having, just so you guys know, we've already been having a great time. So I hope you've got your socks put on very tight, rolled all the way up to hold on to those legs, because we're going to have a great show tonight. Teri is fantastic, and I've been looking at her book cover of her new book coming out in January, and I've had a great time just sitting there admiring the artwork, also learning more about Teri's career. And let me tell you something, me and Teri are kindred spirits because Teri was born in Athens, Greece. But folks, let me tell you, she's an Air Force brat. So go Air Force. Hey, everyone is always going, go Army, beat Navy. But you know what? Let me tell you something about the Air Force, folks. We love us some Air Force people over here. But she currently resides in North Carolina. We were talking about her husband's dog over there, and we love us some dogs. Let's just say that we love us some dogs. She has many accolades to her under her belt to her name in the nonfiction world. But in 2017, after a 14-year abusive marriage, Teri wanted to try her hand in fiction. And true to her nature, she started winning those awards right away and is well known in the historical fiction books. Teri's an adventurer at heart with a passion for not letting anything take her down. That is my type of woman right there. So in 2020, she decided it is not going to get the best of me. She chose to go on an adventure that changed her outlook on life. Her and her husband, Bruce, rode a tandem bicycle. That, just the thought of it, scares me. But she did it with her husband. They rode across America from Astoria, Oregon to Washington, D.C., successfully raising money for Toys for Tots. My heart just melted, and if yours is not, then there is something going on. You need a heating pad or something because your heart is a little bit cold. Teri's a wife, a mother, a grandmother, an author, and she loves to mentor women and youth who are trying to discover their worth and place in this world. Teri is my type of woman, and I'm telling you, she is a woman for all women to want to follow, be like, and learn more about. Teri, thank you so much for coming and sharing who you are, what you're about, and your wonderful books, because we're going to dig right into those beautiful babies that are winning awards tonight.
Thank you, CJ. I'm going to invite you over to my house, and you can wake me up every morning with accolades like that. I just walk around not able to get through the doors.
I'll do it. I'll come over. I haven't been to North Carolina yet, so I will definitely come for a visit. I'm all about this.
Absolutely.
You know what? And I love that you put on, you say that you love to mentor women and youth trying to discover their worth, because I don't think that women encourage each other enough. And
Yeah.
I think that it's a shame, because we're pretty powerful if you even just smile at each other and just say, girl, you got it.
You got it. I think that women do actually do that for one another, but it's almost like we do it on the sly. Like we're trying to hide the fact that we're great and that we know it. And I want to let women know, especially women, if I feel that they've been abused or are in a situation in which they're really not getting the kind of support that they need. I want someone back there, yelling for them, hey, you're fantastic, and you can go places, and you don't have to be stuck. You don't have to be stuck in this place that's no good for you. So.
Absolutely. And one of your degrees is in psychology, and I got my degree in psychology as well. So I'm telling you, we are like firing on all cylinders here. So you have to, when you go through abuse, and like I know, because I went through the emotional, not the physical, and you have to retrain your brain from that
You
trauma,
do.
and you have to really encourage someone, almost overly encourage them to help them realize.
So for me, the thing that changed, really changed my outlook, was going on that tandem bicycle ride. And I know that you're like, oh man, I can't believe, but that 3,102 miles, and those 2 miles count, I can tell you where they were. But that ride, when I was done, because if you look at me, I'm obviously not like the I'm not the person that runs, 5Ks and marathons and
Yeah,
out of planes. That's not who I am. I'm a desk jockey. I'm an author. I I like the outdoors, but like seashell collecting. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
gentle, the gentle outdoors. So this was a huge, huge undertaking. We
Yeah.
rode 72 days. We were gone for 3 months. We camped. We took everything in a trailer and on bags on the bike. We rode an average of 42 miles a day.
Oh my
It,
god.
it was hard. It was hard. And when we were coming into Washington, D.C., and I realized that I had made it, that I had actually ridden across, I was sobbing and then laughing and then sobbing. And it was like it was an emotional wreck. But I realized at some point right in there, do anything. I just rode across the United States on a tandem bicycle. I can actually do anything. It's
Yeah.
not a question of if, it's a question of what. What do I want to do? And I
Mm.
said, I want to be an author. And 14 months later, my first book was out.
Oh, wow.
So, I had the manuscript, but I hadn't let anyone see it. And I
Yeah.
was terrified. I couldn't let people look at it. And I just decided there's no more terrified Teri. There's no more of her. She's gone. Now, that's not to say she's gone, because every now and then she comes like skidding to the front. And you have to like kick her to the curb. But generally, that that trip, in that 3 months, I faced all kinds of fears and overcame them. And accomplished something that was bigger than anything that I thought I could do and anything that most people who knew me thought I could do.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you really do realize things about yourself. And it's like, I can do this. And so I
Wow.
did.
That's beautiful. That it's so beautiful. And, it's one thing to have self-doubt, but then to have this weight on your shoulder knowing that so many other people doubt you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you feel that. You feel other people's doubt around you, and then
And
but
then
when
and then
you
if you've oh, I'm sorry, but if you've lived in an abusive relationship, an emotionally abusive, like I did,
Mhm.
I even had a belief that people were doubting me, and I found out later they weren't. I was
Mm.
being told they were, but
Yeah,
they didn't. But I believed it. And so it's more about what you believe in your head.
yeah,
It doesn't really matter how many people doubt me today. It doesn't bother me at all, because I don't doubt me. But if you doubt yourself, all it takes is one person to say it out loud, and you're sure the whole world thinks the
yep,
same thing, you know.
yeah. It's that it's that annoying little thing inside your head that self-doubt teaches you, and when you have people within your inner circle, whether it is spouse, family, or toxic friends that constantly put that into your mind, it's changing that narrative, that paradigm, and when you
Yes.
break free from that, you write a book in 14 months that ends up winning all kinds of awards. You're like, "Oh, look at me over here.
Yeah.
Thought you do." You know what I call that? I call that my try me phase. Try me and
Try
watch
me.
what I do.
Yeah.
Try me and watch me get over here and do this. That's fabulous. So once you came out of once you walked into your try me phase and
Yes.
you started doing the dang on thing, what was that first book like? What was that experience?
Oh, well, and it's funny. I would love to say that I've grown so much, but I feel the same way. I cry. I'm a crier. I cry when I'm happy. I cry when I'm sad. I cry when I'm excited. I cry. I just cry.
Yeah.
So with Sunflowers Beneath the Snow, when I found out that it was indeed going to be published, I bawled. And then the first time I held a copy, I cried. And like I had it pressed to my chest, and I would open it and see my name at the top page, and I would cry. And I would hold it to my chest, and I would open it, and there was my bio, and I cried. And I mean, and then I read some of my words, and it was like,
Yeah.
I wrote this, you know, I'm crying. And so
Yeah.
there's a lot of crying that happens for me. And the first review that I got that was, you know, someone said something positive about the book, I sobbed like a baby.
Yeah.
And you know, the first time that I had a neighbor come to the door, and she's known me we've known each other over a year at that point. And she said, I understand that you have a book. I said, well, yeah. She said, can I get a copy? And would you sign it? I said, well, sure, Marie. And so I sign it. And she said, oh, I've never had a book signed by an author before. And I thought, Marie, I just went to the Food Lion. You just, I mean, you know what I mean? It was like, but it's thrilling to realize that I'm writing books and people are reading them and they're liking them, and that they're excited for me to write more. And, you know, to this still, it's been 3 years, and I get an email that says, you know, oh, I can't wait for your next book to come out. Or someone today just said, I'm your biggest fan. And it's like, oh my gosh.
Oh my God, I got a fan. I have a fan. Yes. Oh my God, what am I going to do?
And it's funny because that's when I know that there's still like little seeds of doubt that just, you know, I don't know when they go away. But, you know, Daughters of Green Mountain Gap, that's my third book coming out in January. And I should know by now that it's good. It's good, right? And yet I held my breath waiting for that first editorial review. And when it came back and it was good, it was like, oh, thank goodness. Which is crazy because, you know, my editor isn't going to let it out looking horrible. I mean, you know, you know what I'm saying? But there's still that piece of me that says, well, what if I'm a one-hit wonder? Or maybe a two-hit wonder? Like, can I do it? Can I do it 3 times? What about 4? You know,
what about 20?
What about 20? Yeah. And so I wonder at what point, like getting that email that you've won an award, or getting that email that, you know, you've got a good review, doesn't thrill me. And I hope that never happens.
I just got chills when you said that. And the reason why I got chills is because that is a true testament of humbleness right there, right? That you always, oh my God, like, oh, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. Because like, that's like, I hope you always dance in the rain, right? That song came to my head. Like, I feel like we're sitting here at a slumber party. We're like, yeah. We're supposed to be professionally interviewing it, but I feel like I'm totally having like this like moment, you know? But I agree with you. That's the ultimate testament of being a humble human, like this beautiful soul that is always going to be humble, but you're always going to have that trauma that you'll continue to work through, and understand that you'll wonder if you're ever as good as you know that you are. Like but you'll always keep
there's
that.
this intellectual piece of me that if I take it away and stand over here on the side, I can say I have written 3 very good books.
Yeah.
Right. And then this piece of me over on this side goes, is anybody going to like them? You know, and it's kind of crazy. What I love though is that my husband is extremely supportive of me. He's my biggest fan. He tells me all the time, he's already got people playing the different parts when they become movies. I mean, you know, he's that, you know.
Yay.
And so to have that standing behind you gives you just great confidence to move forward and to do what you're going to do. He tells me all the time, I'll walk in and I'll say, guess what? It won an award. And he'll say, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy.
So cute. Can you rent him out just
I
for that
can.
part?
Yeah, I
Just for
can.
that part, like, I
That
think
part
that
right there
everyone that wins an award needs to,
should
like,
have.
have him shipped over and be like, "I just won an award," and he can do that for them.
I'm not worthy. Yeah. It's, it has been the most exciting period of time of my entire life. And I've had a good life. It's not that I haven't had a good life, despite the abuse of marriage. I have beautiful kids. I have beautiful grandkids. There have been many things that I can say have been wonderful. But being an author, I feel like I have finally stepped into the thing that I'm supposed to be.
That's beautiful.
That this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And not just writing, but all the things that go with being an author, the being on podcasts and the even standing up in front of groups of women and chatting about my book. And I love all of it. I'm just, yeah, I'm kind of like four with pigtails. So
You're flourishing, which is
yeah,
beautiful, and speaking of books, your 3rd one, is coming out in January.
right,
Do you have a copy? Because the cover is gorgeous. I don't know if you have one. If not, we're gonna have it we have it on
right
the,
there. Yeah.
oh, there it is. Yeah, and I love it because it's so captivating. The shadow, just for some reason, the shadow
Yeah.
itself of on the right by the house just make
Yeah.
it draws me in, and I don't know if that was intentional, if that's
I,
something that okay.
yeah. So trying to come up with titles is not my favorite.
Mhm.
And deciding on the cover, like I'd rather write 18 manuscripts than come up with a title. I'm just so, I don't know. It's like, how do you sum up an entire book in, 3 to 5 words? So it's crazy. And then I always have like I don't know, like an idea, but it's not solid enough. And I send off my idea and what comes back to me, and I think, that's what I suggested. Somehow I didn't do quite what I thought, and then starts that process. And so this was not an easy cover, but I felt like I wanted to really portray, she's a granny woman in the 1890s.
Okay.
And so herbs and roots and flowers, and I wanted that. And the first several things that they said to me were maybe in the mountains, or had that mountain feel, but it didn't give me that. I don't know. It was like, it needs more. I said, where's the Queen Anne's lace? Give me something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so was it always gonna be historical fiction for you, or did you have another genre that pulled at you first?
you know I think so. I've written now three that all fall into the historical fiction. Although the first one starts in 1970, and the fact they consider that historical fiction hurts my heart because that makes me
Yes,
old. But
me too.
anyway, I don't think that I set out to be in historical fiction. In fact, I'm writing one right now that's a contemporary comedy about a woman going through menopause. And
Okay.
so it's like totally different. I feel more like I'm character driven. And if there's a character in my head who has a story, it's up to me to find the best scenario for her. And the first books, it turned out to be historical fiction. And I think partially because I love to research. So
Mm,
his history is like something that just always gets me, because you can just dive in and find all kinds of things. And I've never been really good at like world building or describing the setting. But when you have
yep,
historical fiction, it's already there for you. You just have to pick
yeah.
out which pieces you're going to show your reader. And so I almost feel like I cheated a little. Like I just found like this great backdrop and said, okay, I'm going to put my characters in here.
There you go. And are your do you predominantly write strong female
Yeah.
characters, or do you have okay. So you don't really focus on the male character. It's more
Although in An Enemy Like Me, I focus on Jacob and Bonnie. So you see both.
okay.
And then I
Uh-huh.
also focus on their son. So in that book, I actually have two men and a woman, but definitely my women characters are always strong. You see them, they're strong, but they're not strong like Superwoman strong. Like they're
Got it.
real. They're
Yeah.
real, and their strength comes from loss and difficulty and figuring out who they are, and like, to me, like strong women are in real life. A
Yeah.
strong woman doesn't come about because she was born strong and she just walked around strong. Strong women, and I think strong people, but strong women come about because of hardships and other things that they've had to go through, that they've realized that they had the strength and the fortitude, and I don't know, even just the ability to like find solutions and to make things beautiful in an ugly place or whatever it is. That's what makes a strong woman. And so my
Yeah.
characters, they journey, and you see it, and you get to be with them. In Sunflowers Beneath the Snow, she has a baby and then suffers with postpartum depression, and you see
Mhm.
this horrible time where she just doesn't think she should be a mother. And in An Enemy Like Me, you see Bonnie completely fall apart when she realizes her husband's not coming home from the war. you
Oh, wow.
know
Yeah.
and you see her lose it, like really lose it. And Daughters of Green Mountain Gap, there's a place in there too where you're going to see Maggie recognize something, and it takes the time of them being in that place to come out the other side and recognize who they really are.
Oh.
So
Can you read the book synopsis for us?
yeah, I have my glasses. Let's see if I can see it.
Oh. Oh, I bet I could pull it up.
No, I've got it. I've got it here. I just have to have good light. I've got old eyes now. I turned 60 this year. So,
I hear
all
you.
right. So Maggie McCrory, a generational healer woman, relies on family traditions, folklore, and beliefs gleaned from a local Cherokee tribe. Her daughter, Carrie Ann, believes her university training holds the answers. As they clash over the use of roots, herbs, and a dash of mountain magic versus the medicine available in the town's apothecary, Josie May doesn't know whom to follow. But what happens when neither family traditions nor science can save the ones you love most? Daughters of Green, Carrie Ann, and Josie May, three generations of remarkable North Carolina women living at the turn of the 20th century, shedding light on racism, fear of change, loss of traditions, and the intricate dynamics within a family. Author Teri M Brown skillfully navigates the complexity of their lives, revealing that some questions are not as easy to answer as one might think.
Hmm. That is a great. Yeah, that's a good story, folks. I love it because it just it's very dynamic. Like the synopsis, just listening to it, you can feel the dynamics of the different characters and the intertwining of the storylines. Yeah,
I
yeah.
love generational stories. I love to
Mhm.
read them. I really love to write them. And I love to
Same.
write them because I love having a story that has more than one point of view. And so
Yeah.
Daughters of Green Mountain Gap, the chapters go back and forth. You're seeing it from Maggie, and then you're seeing it from Carrie Ann, and then you're seeing it from Josie May. And the story is moving forward, but you're seeing it from these different perspectives. And I love generational stories because the perspectives are they're 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 real. Like
Mhm.
how I view life and how my daughter views life and how my granddaughter views life are not the same, right?
Yeah.
Even though we're living in the very same world. And
Yeah.
and it's a natural thing. That's what happens
Yeah.
because, for instance, 9/11, I know exactly where I was. I know
Mm.
exactly what I was feeling. I can still feel it right now. You say 9/11, I can feel it. I can feel it. My daughter was 8. Okay. So she has some memory of it, but she has a memory of it the way an 8-year-old would remember
Yep.
9/11. Her daughter is 5. Her daughter right now doesn't know what it is. And when she finally does know what it is, it's going to be something in a book,
Yeah.
right? And so she's going to feel about it the same way that I felt when my grandparents would talk about the Depression. And I would
Yeah.
think, oh my gosh, are we taught that again? It's over.
Yeah. That's
Like,
wild.
why are we still talking about tinfoil?
Oh,
And I wasn't trying to be a snotty teenager, but in my world, that was so far away and so far removed that it didn't even make sense to me. Why are we still talking about it? And so I love generational stories because you automatically have these built-in reasons for people who live in the same place to have a very different experience.
mm. That was such a great way of putting it because I had never thought about how you think about things in different ways. Like, I know we do, right? I have a 21-year-old daughter and a 23-year-old son, and I know we think about things differently because I just had this conversation with her, and I was like, "Oh, honey, if I could just let you realize how you're gonna feel when you're 30,
Right,
it's
right.
okay. Like, the things that you're upset about right now, at 30, you're just not gonna give a crap." But when you said about the depression and how you were like, "Ugh, do we have to talk?" Because my grandma would talk about something. She was born in 1920, and I would be like, "Ugh,
Oh,
grandma, like, why
really?
does it matter?" Then I was like, when you said 9/11, I was like, well, my kids, my son was a year old, and didn't know I was pregnant with my daughter, but I was pregnant with my daughter at the time. Yeah, they don't know about it.
No,
They just hear about it all the time.
their story is based on what you felt.
Yeah,
And your grandchildren, it will be now too removed from
yeah.
anyone that was there. And by the time your great grandchildren come along, it will be a blip in the history book for them. And yet it rocked our world.
And the thought of any of them, because I was active duty at the time, and I was the one that called all the troops on the radio that we were sending, the first troops that went in, and it was very hush hush at the time. It's not now, but the
Right.
very first troops that went in country were from the base that I was at, and we and I remember calling the names on the radio, and I knew what I was calling their names for, and having them report. And so having the any of my grandkids go, "Can we just not talk about this? It's so boring." Like, I just had a
Right.
reaction to that. Like, when
Right.
you said, I was like, "If my grandkids do that, I'm gonna flip." Like, so
but
I
but then
understand that.
yeah, see, but you see
Yeah,
that for them it isn't anything that ever actually touched their life. And
yeah,
so when you write from 3 points of views from these different generations, you naturally have, I didn't go through it, and therefore it doesn't touch me in the same way. And
yeah,
so I love I love reading generational stories if they're done well, and I really love writing them
yeah,
because they give you such a diverse way of looking. Stick a problem in the middle of 3 people who are 50 years apart, and just see where it goes.
wha
You know,
you made me fall in love with generational stories. Like, with that analogy right there, I was like, "Okay, all I ever wanna read now is generational stories," because the thought I mean, I knew it, but I never thought of it in a way that I could digest it
yeah,
as much as I
yeah.
just digested that, because that was implanted in my memory. Wow, so fascinating. So if you had an ideal person to read your book, what does that ideal person look like? Do you have, like, an age, or is it just really all ages of women because it's generational?
I originally, when I first, the first book that came out, my original thought is that they were women about my age.
Mm-hmm.
I assumed that I was writing for me. Do you know, like, here I am, and then there are like carbons of me, and that's who's reading my book. I have found that even younger, like 20s, are reading the book and enjoying it. And I've had men reading both of my earlier books and enjoy it. And when a man reads it and enjoys it, I just, it's like, you've got to be kidding me. And I almost want to sit down with them and like quiz them. Like, what exactly did you like? And do you often read character-driven fiction? And
Yeah. You just
what
must
other
love
books
strong
do you
women.
like?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like, what kind of movies do you watch? What are you into? I don't know. It's
Was you
just,
raised by a single mother? No. I get that. Yeah, yeah. That's
but
so
it is wonderful. And you cannot write to every person. And I
yeah.
know, and I've had some reviews that were not, that were not polite. Amazon is a lovely place.
Mhm.
But I've learned, and I really feel it, you cannot please every single person. There are thousands of different kinds of readers out there, and thousands of different kinds of authors. And if I'm not the author for you, by all means, move on and find one that is. I
Yeah.
think that everyone should be reading. Go out and read. And if my stories aren't for you, it's okay. That's fine.
Yep.
Go find your author.
Yeah.
Find your people, and then go
Mhm.
read those books. Recently, I have started reading a lot broader than I've been reading, because I've started a podcast, and I'm talking with authors, and I'm loving it. But it's opened me up. I don't know, I get in ruts.
Yeah.
So like, I love historical fiction, and so I read a lot of historical fiction.
Mhm.
And then maybe I'll start reading almost exclusively World War II historical fiction, and 18 books later, and I've read from every aspect that you can think of, and it gets kind of samey. Well,
Mhm.
recently I've read everything from memoir to fantasy to I've read a historical fiction, but I also read a thriller, and I'm loving it.
Mhm.
I'm loving kind of stepping out of my comfort zone. And I
Yeah.
think it's going to make me a better writer, because I'm seeing how other people attack similar situations
Yep.
in different ways. Whereas if you only read your genre, you're only going to see your genre.
Right.
Like, you're never going to see anything else. You're not ever going to see first person. You're not
Mhm.
ever going to see some of these other things. And
Yeah.
I think it's just, I don't know, it's been very interesting.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I'm a multi-genre author. I read multi-genre, and I'm currently on this mystery kick. I don't crime mystery kick, and I don't know why.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I love I've read like a lot of historical fiction, and I get on those kicks every once in a while where I'm like
Yeah.
I'm just gobbling them up, and then just like you, when they all start to sound the same, I'm like, okay, I got to switch. I got to go to this.
Switch
But I
over.
think it's
Yeah.
fascinating. Yeah. And I started this podcast for the simple fact is I wanted to talk to authors. I wanted to,
Yeah.
be able to get in this realm of shining these lights and finding these fantastic books and just having this great place to discuss literary works of art. And I love your books are beautiful,
Thank
they're
you. Thank
powerful,
you.
and I love this light that you exude when you talk about them. You talk about the empowerment of not only women, but authors in general, and being able to have this beautiful space for people and starting a podcast that is powerful. I want to give you an opportunity to shout out your podcast, because if there's a
Okay.
space that you can shine for authors, I am all about that, because there's
Yeah.
just not enough room for people, and I wanna make sure that we give as much room as possible, so give a shout out to that
Okay.
podcast, and
So
if there's a way for
it's called Online for Authors. And go to my website. There's a tab that says podcasts, and you can go there, and there's a little form you can fill out, and let me know, what you write. The only thing that I do not care for erotica, I can't read it. I can't discuss it. I simply cannot discuss it. I
Yeah.
might be able to read it in a closet with no one watching me, but I could never discuss it. And I don't like super dark. I'm not in a space where that feels good to me. So I don't like to read
Yeah.
like this super dark stuff. But if you have anything else, pretty much, I'm willing to give it a shot and see what I think. Um,
Perfect.
I think a
What's
lot
your
of people,
website, Teri?
so it's my name, Teri M Brown, and that's Teri with one R. So it's terrymbrown.com.
Okay. I went ahead and put that in the comments here so it's clickable
Super.
for everybody. Yeah.
Super, yeah. And I think that one of the things that a lot of readers don't understand, they look for books that are on the bestseller lists, and very few people get there. But that
Mhm.
doesn't mean they're not good authors. And there are a
Yep.
lot of excellent, excellent books that never make it to those lists. And I also think that the lists are a little bit skewed. They're looking for certain things based on whatever's going on in society at the moment. And if you're not writing that,
Yep.
if you don't have the right kinds of characters or the right kind of social platform or whatever it is they're looking for, you're not going to make the list, but it doesn't mean that you haven't written a good book. And
Right.
so I want to talk with authors they're out there. They're out there and they're writing these excellent books. I read a book the other day that was just like phenomenal. And it was a book I was not going to like because it was about 30 AD. And although I like historical fiction, that is not where I would be. Yuck. That whole era just does nothing for me personally.
Mhm.
And I can't stop thinking about this character. And I'm so glad that it's going to be a trilogy because I get to read 2 more. And so it's that kind of thing that I think is just really cool about this author journey that I'm on. Is for so long I felt very alone. It was me against the world, and I had to figure out how to, I don't know, live this life. And now it's like, hey, I get to talk to CJ today, and tomorrow I'm going to go talk to someone else, and we're going to talk about books, and we're going to lift one another up, and I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. I feel like, I have a tribe, and for years I didn't. And so
Yeah.
it's fabulous. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great world. I love the author world. I
So do
wouldn't
I.
have it any way else. Teri, I've had a great time talking to you
Thank you.
tonight. Excited for your book release in January. What day does it come out?
The 23rd.
Okay, can we see it one more time?
There it
Yes.
is.
Beautiful, beautiful. I I am so glad that we had this opportunity tonight. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you want to make sure that we get across? We talked about the podcast, we talked about your book release, we talked about your journey, but is there anything that we did not hit on tonight?
I, I don't think so. The only other big thing I've done recently is I actually did a TEDx talk.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And I talked about
Oh,
racism. So
wow.
yeah,
Okay, so do you have a link for that or is it on your website?
it's on my YouTube channel. But I don't have a link right off the top for that. But
Is your
yeah,
YouTube connected to your website?
it should be. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
There should
guys,
be
go on her website,
on
find
my
her
website.
YouTube.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna have to go check that out. Like you're just now dropping a bomb on me. Hello. That's fascinating.
So
Congratulations on a
yeah. Well,
TEDx.
thank you. Yeah,
That's big.
it was just one of those things that I decided I could do this.
Yeah.
But I wrote across the United States, so I have that whole mindset where put something in front of me. It just real funny. I had someone ask me or say to me, you could run a marathon, and I looked at them and I said, "You're right, I could, but I don't want to."
Like, there's a lot of things I could do, but there's just gonna be some limits on what I'm gonna try.
That is a blessing. Thank you so much. So it's funny to me because it is a whole different mindset, and I'm loving it. And
Yeah.
I would love to talk to women, and especially young women,
Yeah.
Like teenagers and into their early 20s where they still are so unsure of themselves, and
Mm,
really help them understand you can do anything.
mm.
You really can do anything. It's do you want it? Because if you want it, you can do it.
Yeah. If we could get a hold of those young girls at the when they're at the precipice of basically that moment, and we all know where that moment is in their life. It's not an age, it's just this
Yeah.
moment, and you could tell in their eyes where that moment is and help them realize how powerful they truly are. Wowzer. Like,
Wow.
wowzer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
we know
agree.
it. Yeah, I
Absolutely.
it's that moment you just feel it in your bones, and you know, and you
And
could
if you
tell.
don't catch them at it, if you don't catch them at it, they're 40 before they figure it out. I mean,
Yep,
it takes forever because you
yeah,
just feel like you're being, drugged behind a horse for forever. And then all of a
yep,
sudden one day you say, stop the madness, and you
yep.
realize, wow, I've got something here,
Oh,
you
you are
know?
speaking the truth, Terry. And it is 40 before you figure it out. And
It is.
it's from that moment, and it could be 15 or it could be 20. It's literally from it's about 13 to 20. It's that in between
Uh-huh.
13 to 20 is where it's that moment. And I'm going like this. So the podcast people can't actually see me, but the live people can, is this moment, right? And you just feel it, and you feel it, and you can see it in their eyes when you're talking to them whenever that moment happens. But it's 13 to 20. And if you catch
Yep.
them, you can catapult them. But if you don't, then it's 40 that they get drug behind a horse, just like you said.
Yep. Yep.
Oh
And
my
then
God.
for me, because I was stuck in this awful relationship,
Yeah.
I was 55. I was
Oh,
55 before I finally said, whoa, and it's
wow.
only been 3 years ago. It was 2020 when October of 2020, when I realized I can do anything. And
Yeah.
you look at October to 2020 to today, so just over 3 years. And I've now written 3 books. I have a podcast. I've done a TED talk. I'm like, and this isn't pat me on the back. I'm just saying, look what happens when you finally
Yeah.
recognize,
Uh-huh.
you know, that this is who I am and this is what I want to do. And then this is how I'm going to do it. And the things that change and your life just changes because you realize that it can. It is amazing.
Yeah. You've moved into the try me
Yeah, try me.
phase.
Or
Try me.
as my abusive ex-spouse used to say, and it used to just, oh, but now I say it almost in my mind as a way of like getting even. He used to say, hide and watch,
Oh,
right? Which is scary. But in a way now, I feel like I'm looking back going, you hide, you watch. You know,
exactly. You
it's a
sit in
different,
your corner,
yeah, you
hide in
hide,
that
you
corner,
watch
and watch me
and
shine
watch.
now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know if you know the country music song, but he liked a girl, she didn't like him, but now he's a star and he says, I'm on your radio. How do you like me now?
ooh.
I don't know if you know that song, but I
I don't
love
know
it.
the song, but I like it.
And it's that idea, that same kind of thing. And it's
Yeah.
like, for all those years, what do you think now? What do you think
How
now?
do you
So
like me now? Yes,
yeah,
I think that's how it goes. Look,
it
don't
is.
get me singing in here. It sounds like a whale's having a baby. We're gonna stop right there. Oh my goodness, Terry, you're too much fun. We can sit here and talk all night, but I'm going to save you some of that voice because
All
you
right.
have a whole podcast that you need to talk to other authors on. Guys, you need to go over to www.terry, T-E-R-I-M Brown, that's all one word, .com, and you need to check out Terry's podcast. You also need to make sure that January, is it 24th?
Third,
January 3rd, 23rd.
23rd. Yep.
January 23rd, you go get her new book that is coming out. It's historical fiction. It's strong women. It's generational. You guys, like, come on. Like, tell me you have not had a good time tonight. I'm all giggly, and we're talking about we're in the try me phase. Try me. We're not in the try it phase, okay? Because
No,
we're choosing what we want. We're not letting it choose us. We're the try me. Try me and see what happens, okay? This has been such a blast. Thank you so much for coming on tonight, Terry.
thank you for having me.
Yeah, it has been great. Guys, make sure you head over to theauthorsporch.com and check out the latest magazine. We have a new one coming out January 1st, which Teri is going to be one of the featured author in there. She's going to be gracing our pages with some fantabulous stuff that she's doing, and hopefully she'll let us put some information about her TEDx talk in there now that we know about that as well. You'll also get some more information about her book that is releasing in January. And we will be sharing with you who our cover is going to be. And I think that you are really going to like it after this conversation as well, because it is going to be a strong woman, just to give you that little bit of insight there. And also, if you would like to be on the Author's Porch, head over to theauthorsporch.com, click on the podcast tab, and book a discovery call. It has been an absolute wonderful time, and we will catch you guys next time here on the Author's Porch. Bye, Teri. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.